Oh, you can too?
I don't think the curfew was really being enforced.
So if a law is not being enforced, you can disregard it?
Your Honor.
It's argumentative.
You said that there was a time in which Nick Smith asked you guys to drive him down to Chicago
Correct.
to buy a piece of body armor
Correct.
down by O'Hare.
Correct.
And you guys were willing to do that at first.
Dominic was willing to do it. It was more of Dominic's thing because Nick Smith was going to throw in like $20 to Dominic when he bought it for like gas.
So Nick Smith was going to pay $20 for the gas to drive down to O'Hare where Nick Smith was planning on buying this body armor.
Yes.
And he needed that the idea was the body armor would be used that night, correct?
I believe so.
That's why there was some urgency about going down right away, right?
Yeah.
This was part of the plan to come down to downtown that night, right?
He wanted to go to O'Hare to buy the body armor, so yes.
Do you understand my question?
Can you rephrase
Sure,
it?
absolutely. The urgency to get that body armor that day was because he needed it for that night, right?
I wouldn't say he needed it, but he wanted it.
And instead of making the drive, you gave your own body armor to Nicholas Smith.
Correct.
You had it along with you.
Yes.
You brought it along with you that day because you thought you might need it yourself that night, correct?
No, I kept it in my trunk of the car. I always had it.
You drive around with body armor in the trunk of your car regularly?
Well, it was just in the back of my trunk. I never really took it out.
And you said at some point that day you went to Jelinski's. That's the hunting goods, fishing store out on Highway 31 and 52nd Street to buy a couple of slings. Is that right?
That's correct.
And this was one sling for you and one for Dominic, right?
Yes.
And you bought two of the identical type of sling, correct?
Yes, the cheapest ones they had.
And that's a single point sling, meaning it attaches to the gun in one location, correct?
Yes.
And then it wraps around your body, correct?
Yes.
And it's designed to help you retain possession of that weapon, correct?
You'd probably know more about them than I do. I just got it to hold the rifle, so when I'm doing medical aid, I don't have to sit on the ground and have to worry about it being stolen.
Because you realize that you couldn't have that gun on you while you're doing any sort of medical aid, correct?
I knew that I couldn't, without a sling, have it on me. That's why I got the sling, so I could have my hands free.
But even when you had the sling, there was a time in which you took off your entire gun apparatus and handed it to Joanne Fiedler because it was in the way of you trying to treat someone, right?
At that instance, yes, because it was hitting the ground. The rifle was hitting the ground. When I bought it, that was the purpose of it. I don't think it really worked, now that I think of it.
This big, long AR-15 really got in the way whenever you tried to help someone, right?
Sometimes.
If you had a handgun, for example, it would have been physically more easy for you to try and treat someone. Fair?
If I could have legally carried a handgun, I would have carried a handgun instead of a pistol. Instead of a rifle.
You grabbed some medical supplies from Dominic Black's house before you came downtown that night, correct?
I grabbed extra gauze, but that's about it.
You testified earlier that your AR-15 was loaded with 30 rounds of ammunition. Is that right?
Yes.
Where did that ammunition come from?
That was from our last trip up north, from May, the time we took it up north.
So when the gun was left at Dominic Black's house, it had that ammunition with it?
The ammo was in a box, in a magazine, I don't really know.
When you were at Dominic Black's house on August 25th. You found that AR-15 downstairs in his basement, correct?
No.
Where did you find it at?
It was downstairs in the basement, but I was told by Dominic Black, hey, go downstairs, grab your rifle.
So you knew up until that point that rifle was being stored in a gun safe in the garage, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't have the code or any access to that gun safe, correct?
I did not.
It just happened that on this particular day, Dominic Black's stepfather had moved that gun into the house, correct?
Yes.
You didn't know that beforehand?
I didn't.
You didn't know that it had been taken out of the safe?
No.
And so you went downstairs and grabbed it.
After instructed to do so by Dominic, I did.
And it had that magazine?
After I was instructed to do so.
After I was instructed to do so by Dominic, I did go downstairs and grab it.
And it had the magazine already inserted in the rifle?
It did.
And the magazine was already loaded with 30 rounds?
I believe so.
When did you chamber a round?
I don't know if I ever did.
Well, you had to have to fire the gun, right?
Yeah, I think it was already chambered when I got it. That's what I remember. I don't remember racking it at all that night.
Because the way this type of gun works is that you have to have a magazine with ammo in it. You have to insert the magazine into the gun, and then you have to rack it to load one of those rounds into the chamber, correct?
Yes.
And you were familiar with how to do all of that, correct?
Yes.
And it can't discharge a bullet unless a bullet is racked into the chamber, correct?
Correct.
And so your testimony here, as best you can recall, is that you never had to do the initial racking because the bullet was already in the chamber when you took possession of it that day. Is that fair to say?
I believe so. I believe that it was already racked.
And the ammunition that was in that was full metal jacket ammunition, correct?
223 full metal jacket.
223 being the caliber,
Yes.
and full metal jacket being the type of casing, correct?
Yes. Full metal jacket is the bullet type.
The bullet type. Okay, I apologize. And you're aware there are different types of bullets, like hollow point bullets, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And when you were in the process of purchasing this gun, well, let me back up for a second. You said that the 30 rounds of ammo were left over from previous. I assume you mean when you were up in Ladysmith?
Yes.
And you were practicing with the gun up there?
Yes.
And Dominic Black's family has some sort of firing range or shooting range up there, is that right?
They have a gravel pit where it's safe to shoot.
And you and Dominic would practice with your AR-15s shooting at targets in that gravel pit, correct?
Correct.
And you would shoot at targets as far as, 75 yards away?
No.
How close were the targets?
I think the furthest I ever got was maybe from me to the TV.
You didn't shoot at any targets farther away than that?
No.
Dominic Black testified that he shot at targets 75 yards away. Did you see him do that?
I didn't, but I don't know what Dominic Black saw or what Dominic Black was shooting at. I wasn't with him when he did that.
But you were aware of the fact that the AR-15 was capable of hitting targets much further away than you to the TV, correct?
I believe so.
Did you know the capabilities of your own weapon?
I knew that it could shoot, and I believe from a distance. I don't know how far. I'm not an expert on AR-15s.
Did you personally purchase that 223 full metal jacket ammunition?
I did not.
Who did?
Dominic did.
Did you ask him to purchase it?
I did not.
So you didn't know what type of ammo was in that gun. Is that right?
I knew they were 223 full metal jackets. The first time I shot it, I had to load it into the magazine.
So you knew the type of round, but you didn't know what those rounds were capable of doing. Is that fair to say?
Believe a bullet's a bullet.
as you sit here today, you know that there are different types of bullets, right?
Yes.
You know that hollow point bullets, for example, do different things to a animal or a human than full metal jacket bullets, correct?
Yeah. Full Metal Jacket is like a defense round, like another type of defense round. I know people use Full Metal Jacket for hunting, and hollow point is something that causes more damage.
Hollow point bullets are designed to hit the animal that they're being shot at, let's say a deer, for example, and explode inside that body, correct?
No, I don't think so.
When you say explode, are you saying expand or explode? Because there are such things as exploding bullets.
Sure. Let me rephrase. Mr. Rittenhouse, what is your understanding of what a hollow point bullet would do if it were shot at, say, a deer?
I don't think people use hollow point.
That wasn't my question, sir. What is your understanding of what that bullet would do? Let me rephrase it then, because you're aware that people use hollow point bullets in their pistols to defend themselves against other people, correct?
Yes.
Ryan Balch, for example, testified in this trial that he was carrying a pistol loaded with hollow point ammunition for self-defense. Do you remember that testimony?
I do.
So what is your understanding, if you have one, as to what hollow point ammunition would do to a human?
I believe it would do the same thing as any other bullet. Like I said, a bullet's a bullet. I just believe hollow points. I'm sorry, I don't know much about ammo. I'm trying to think of what I remember, but I just don't know much about ammo.
So you didn't know the difference between what a full metal jacket bullet would do versus a hollow point, right?
I believe a hollow point, I just don't know much about this. I believe a hollow point would cause more damage.
To the first target, but it wouldn't continue through to any other targets, right?
I don't know the answer
Whereas
to
a
that.
full metal jacket bullet is specifically designed to continue through its first target and keep flying, correct?
First of all, the hollow point is not guaranteed to stay in the first object struck, so what you said was not correct. Secondly,
There's no testimony on that, Your Honor.
no, but you've been testifying, and we're going to take a break for lunch. Please don't talk about the case. Read, watch, or listen to any account of the trial. We'll see you, let's hope, at about 12:45.
I'm gonna do those two 12:45.
Oh, I've got a couple of hearings at 12:45. Let's say 1 o'clock. I apologize for taking time away from you.